Before we start, I just wanted to apologize in case my voice sounds a little bit off. I have been sick for the past couple of days, but this video is like 2 weeks late at this point, so I figured I might as well just tough it out and try to record this. Alright, let's do it. It's time to analyze the data from the last month of Smash Ultimate tournaments, and see which characters have come out on top. As always, this data is collected and organized by Covert Ghoul, and you can see the data for yourself through the links in the description below, and make sure to give them a follow on Twitter as well. The last video did not include the results for Genesis, so that the date range for this video could be all of February. And if this series continues, then month 4 will be all of March, month 5 will be April, and so on. Before we get into the tier list, I just wanted to address the major concerns that have been brought up in the comments of the previous videos, that being the scoring system and Echo Fighters. If you're just interested in the tier list, feel free to skip ahead. Now, I'm no mathematician, I'm just a guy who found an interesting thread on Smashboards and made a video about it, so I can't really address all of the comments about the scoring system itself, or what formula would be better. However, the main comment about the scoring system seems to be, why not divide each character's total by the number of tournament entries that character had, that way you could get rid of the popularity factor. See, the issue with that is that the current formula gives more value to big tournaments rather than smaller ones, and factoring in the number of tournament entries each character had would essentially make all the tournaments worth the same, whether it's a major or a local, which was the main issue with the original scoring system for month 1. For example, say only one person entered a tournament as Mii Brawler during the entire month of February. It was a small local monthly event and they got first place. Because Mii Brawler only had one entry that entire month and won the tournament, they would have a 100% win rate or success rate or whatever you want to call it. Now I know that's an extreme example, but dividing by number of tournaments entered would skew heavily towards the characters who are rarely used, and would value smaller tournaments the same as large tournaments, so it wouldn't really be effective or accurate at all. The other major concern is Echo Fighters. Some people say separate them, some people say combine them but only certain ones, so I did some digging through the comments and other opinions online and came to a decision. The only characters that I'm going to combine are Peach and Daisy, and Simon and Richter. All the other characters and Echoes will be ranked separately, because I found the general consensus to be that they are different enough. However, towards the end of the video, I'll show what the tier list looks like with all of the Echoes separate and combined for those who are interested. Alright, let's get into this tier list, starting with the bottom 2. Despite adding almost twice as many characters to these tiers to keep things more organized, there aren't really that many changes compared to last month. Considering the increase of characters in these bottom 2 tiers, you could say that the mid tiers from last month that have fallen into low or bottom tier this month haven't actually moved all that far. Piranha Plant has finally been ranked, and I expected it to be low or bottom tier, but it's kind of funny to see it above 5 other characters. The biggest changes in my opinion would be Toon Link falling from the high mid section into low tier, and Kirby, who has climbed 14 spots from his previous last place position. It just feels good to see Sakurai's character not in last place. Next up at mid tier we have Yoshi, Sonic, Pikachu, Wario, Mr. Game & Watch, Chrom, Young Link, Bayonetta, Link, Roy, Zero Suit Samus, Meta Knight, Pac-Man, Cloud, Mewtwo, King Dedede, or if I must, DDD, Bowser, Captain Falcon, and Donkey Kong. I find it interesting that Pikachu hasn't been able to escape this mid-tier spot despite having such a similar moveset to Pichu, who most people consider to be a top-tier character. To be fair, Pichu's dominance could actually be a big factor in regards to Pikachu being picked less overall. But what really doesn't make any sense in my opinion is Wario. Aside from all the Wolf players that came out of nowhere, February seemed like a really good month for Wario. Players like Tweek, Zachary, and Gluttony showed that Wario was a real threat at high level play, and Tweek beat MKLeo to win Frostbite at the end of the month. Cloud and Link were also 10th and 11th respectively on last month's tier list, but are now barely making it into the top half of the roster. I feel like you can really start to see what makes a good character in the Smash Ultimate meta, just by looking at the mid to bottom tiers. Characters with decent neutral game, follow-ups and combos, quick out of shield options, and reliable kill moves tend to rise above the rest. whereas the low and bottom tiers tend to be filled with characters that have to work a lot harder to rack up damage and secure KOs. Yeah, I know, characters like Simon and Richter don't have to work that hard when it comes to spamming projectiles and their long-ranged whip. However, those gimmicky strategies only really work online against a handful of people. Moving on to the high mid-tier, we have Mega Man, Ike, Pokemon Trainer, Mario, Rob, Ness, Lucina, Inkling, and Greninja. Despite the nerf to Leaf Shield, Mega Man has risen a few spots alongside Pokemon Trainer, Mario, and Greninja. It looks like people are starting to figure out how to play against Ike, as he's dropped a few spots since last month, along with Inkling, which is also a pretty interesting change. Inkling still seems like a really solid character with very few weak spots in my opinion, so it could just be that newcomer popularity finally wearing off. Let me know in the comments what you think is the cause for some of these changes. Lucina hasn't really moved at all despite more players starting to pick her up. However, I feel like that's a trend we started seeing at the beginning of March, so we might see Lucina climb a few spots in next month's list. And finally, we have the top and high tier. All hail the Overlord of February, Wolf. Last month I put 4 characters at the top of the list, so you might be wondering why Wolf is all by himself this time around. That's because the score difference between Wolf to Olimar is pretty much the same as Olimar to Palutena. The high tier characters are all very close together in terms of tournament performance this month, whereas Wolf is just in a league of his own. But since I've been going in order, let's just talk about the high tiers first. Olimar, Peach and Daisy, Pichu, Fox, Snake, and Palutena. The most improved character out of this bunch is Olimar, jumping up 10 spots and becoming the second highest ranked character in February. I'm Hip and of course Dabuz have been doing great with Olimar and placing well in tournaments, but Logic is another Olimar player that's also been showing high placings at the Grind and Xanadu tournaments. The other high tiers aren't new faces, and it's not surprising to see them stay up here either, with players like Samsora, Void, Light, Ally, and Nairo performing so well with their mains, along with other players who have also found success with these characters at the local level. But then we have Wolf, who is very much an entire tier ahead of Olimar and friends. If I were to name all of the players that have been doing well with Wolf, this video might actually be an hour long like all the other tier list videos. Some of the most notable players include Zackray, of course, who's been surprising and impressing everyone since the beginning of Smash Ultimate. Seagull Joe, Dexter, and even Tweak has a decent Wolf. But why is this character so good? His neutral game and combos are very similar to Sheik in Smash 4, except he also has one of the best projectiles in the game. He hits hard, he has no problem killing even with stale moves, and can even kill off of up tilt and forward tilt, which come out extremely fast. I don't see Wolf falling from the top 5 anytime soon unless patch 3.0 nerfs a few things about him, and judging by the amount of Wolf players I see online, I wouldn't exactly be surprised if he gets the King K. Rool treatment. As I mentioned near the beginning of this video, the only characters I've combined are Peach and Daisy and the Belmonts. There were also a few comments saying how combining them and then averaging the score is cutting their results in half since they're essentially just alternate skins if we're combining them, and I agree. If you'd like to see where the other characters end up when combined with their echoes, here is what the list would look like. If you want to see what the tier list would look like with every character separated from their Echo Fighter, here you go. Here's what it looks like in comparison to month 2, where I also separated every character. And just in case it's hard to see side by side, here's month 3, and here's month 2. And last but not least, here's the data for all 3 months so far with the grand totals on the far right side. And this is what it looks like in tier list format. Note that I've combined Peach and Daisy and the Belmonts. And here's the grand total of all 3 months side by side with the list for month 3. Here's all 3 months combined, and here's month 3. To be honest, I think this list is pretty accurate considering the current metagame. But I always find it extremely interesting to see how the competitive meta progresses, and I'm sure we'll see a couple changes next month. If I were to make some predictions, I'd say that Lucina and Shulk will probably be climbing a few spots, and to be honest, I think Ike is going to continue to drop. Like MKLeo has been saying, people are starting to learn the matchup and get the better of Ike. But I want to know what you think in the comments below. Do you like this list? Do you hate it? Do you think it's an accurate reflection of the metagame? Let me know your answers to all of those questions below, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet already. Click the bell so you get notified every time I upload, and why not check out some of those uploads of mine on screen? Go ahead, click one. As always, thanks for watching all the way until the end, and happy smashing.